In the dim glow of my laptop screen, late one night in our cramped garage-turned-office, I stared at the email that changed everything. Funds transferred successfully, it read, but the account balance mocked me zero. My heart sank like a stone in the ocean. This was supposed to be the lifeline for my startup, Ecotech, a revolutionary app that connected freelancers with gigs in real time, cutting out the middlemen who bled them dry. I'd poured 2 years into it, sleepless nights coding prototypes, pitching to investors over stale coffee, and scraping together every penny from side hustles. My parents had promised to help. They were the ones who'd insisted on managing the seed capital, $150,000 from my inheritance. Grandma's life savings she'd left specifically for the dreamer in the family, which everyone knew was me. I remember the day Grandma passed, her frail hand clutching mine in the hospital room. "Chase those stars, kiddo," she whispered, her voice raspy from years of chain-smoking menthols. "Don't let anyone clip your wings." She was the one who believed in me when no one else did. Not my teachers, who called my ideas pipe dreams, nor my friends, who laughed off my late-night rants about disrupting the gig economy. Grandma had squirreled away that money from her factory job, skipping luxuries so one of us could break the cycle of mediocrity. And now it was gone? Vanished into thin air, or worse, into someone else's pockets. Dad, with his stern accountant demeanor, had said, "Let us handle the finances, son. You focus on the vision." He adjusted his wire-rimmed glasses, the ones that made him look like a professor from some old movie, and patted my shoulder with that firm, reassuring grip. Mom nodded along, her eyes soft with that familiar pride, the kind that wrapped around you like a warm blanket on a winter night. "We're family. We take care of each other," she added, stirring her famous chicken curry in the kitchen, the aroma filling our modest suburban home. I trusted them blindly. Why wouldn't I? They were the ones who cheered at my high school science fairs, standing in the back with handmade signs that read, "Go Innovator." They sacrificed vacations to send me to coding camps, driving hours in our beat-up minivan just so I could learn Python and dream bigger. But trust is a fragile thing, isn't it? Like code with a hidden bug, it runs smooth until it crashes everything. As the months dragged on, red flags flickered like faulty code in a debugger. Delayed transfers that left my co-founder Sarah pacing the garage with worry lines etching her young face. Vague excuses from Dad about market fluctuations or temporary holds for better interest rates. I call him, my voice steady but edged with desperation. "Dad, we need that tranche now. The developers are waiting on payment." He'd hem and haw, promising it by week's end. Mom would jump on the line, her tone soothing. "Patience, honey. Good things come to those who wait." But waiting was killing us. Ecotech was more than an app. It was my rebellion against a world that chewed up creators and spat them out broke. Freelancers like my old roommate, who juggled 3 jobs and still couldn't pay rent, the app was for them. Real-time matching, fair cuts, community ratings, it could change lives. And then, the whispers from my younger brother, Alex, always the golden child. Alex was 3 years younger, with that effortless charm that turned heads. Tall, athletic, with a smile that could sell ice to Eskimos. While I buried myself in algorithms, he chased experiences, as he called them. Dropping out of business school last year to become a lifestyle influencer. Whatever that meant. Flashy cars rented for the gram, trips to Bali where he'd post sun-kissed selfies with captions like, "Living the dream, manifest your reality." Designer clothes that cost more than my monthly rent, paraded in videos that racked up thousands of likes. I scrolled through his feed late at night, a mix of envy and confusion bubbling inside. How was he affording this? He claimed side gigs and sponsorships, but it didn't add up. Our family wasn't rich. Dad's accounting firm kept us comfortable, but not jet-set luxurious. One weekend, I drove home for Mom's birthday, the garage startup weighing heavy on my mind. The house smelled of fresh-baked cake, laughter echoing from the living room. But as I hugged Mom, I caught Alex slipping Dad a wad of cash under the table, subtle, but not subtle enough. "What's that?" I asked, trying to keep my tone light. Alex grinned. "Just settling a bet, bro." Dad chuckled, but his eyes darted away. That knot in my gut tightened. Later, in the backyard, nursing a beer under the stars, I confided in Mom. "Things are tight with the startup. Any chance we can release more funds?" She hesitated, then smiled too brightly. "Soon, sweetie. Alex has some opportunities coming up too. We're juggling a bit." "Juggling? Since when was my inheritance a circus act?" The doubts crept in like shadows lengthening at dusk. I checked the shared bank app obsessively, watching for deposits that never came. Sarah and I would huddle over spreadsheets in the garage, the fluorescent light buzzing overhead like an angry hornet. "We can't keep bootstrapping forever," she'd say, her voice cracking. Sarah was my rock-brilliant marketer, single mom pushing through for her kid. We'd met at a hackathon, bonded over shared dreams of independence. Now, her faith in me was fraying. "If the money doesn't come, I'm out." I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. Nights blurred into dawns, my fingers flying over the keyboard. Refining the app's UI while anxiety gnawed at my insides. Coffee became my blood, Red Bull my lifeline. I crashed on the worn couch, dreaming of success ecotech going viral. Headlines screaming Brother S app revolutionizes freelance world, only to wake to the harsh reality of empty accounts. Family dinners turned tense battlegrounds. One evening, the table set with Mom's lasagna, I couldn't hold back. "Where's the rest of the money? We need it for the beta launch next month." Dad avoided my gaze, forking his food methodically. "Investments take time, son. Trust the process." Mom jumped in, changing the subject to Alex's latest success, a collab with some energy drink brand. Alex beamed, showing off his phone. "Check this out, 1K likes already." I forced a smile, but inside fury simmered. Why was his frivolous life prioritized? Grandma's will was clear, for the dreamer, me, not the party boy. That night, back in the garage, I couldn't sleep. Betrayal simmered, hot and unspoken, like lava bubbling beneath a calm surface. I paced the concrete floor, memories flashing like glitchy footage. Dad teaching me chess as a kid, explaining strategy, always think 3 moves ahead. Was this his game? Mom reading bedtime stories about underdogs triumphing. Were they the villains now? And Alex, my little brother, the one I protected from bullies in school, shares secrets with under-blanket forts. How could he be complicit? The breaking point came when an investor called. "We're pulling out. No progress on funding." His voice was cold, final. Ecotech teetered on collapsed servers, unpaid, team morale in tatters. Sarah gave me an ultimatum. "Fix this or I'm gone." Tears streamed down my face, hot and unrelenting, as the dream crumbled around me. The app's logo mocked me from the screen, a echoing wave, now silent. But in that abyss, rage ignited a spark. No more blind trust. No more excuses. I started digging myself first. Late-night searches on financial tracking apps, poring over statements Dad had shared sporadically. Discrepancies leaped out, transfers to unfamiliar accounts, labeled consulting fees. One led to a Cayman Islands bank red flag central. My hands shook as I cross-referenced dates with Alex's Instagram. A wire on March 15th? Alex in Miami that week, posting yacht parties. April 2nd? The pieces fit like malicious code compiling into a virus. But I needed proof, ironclad and unforgiving. That's when I hired a forensic accountant, a no-nonsense woman named Elena, who promised to follow the money like a hound on a scent. We met in a dingy coffee shop, her sharp eyes scanning me over black-rimmed glasses. "Family betrayal cuts deepest," she said, sipping her espresso. "But numbers don't lie." I handed over the files, my voice trembling as I recounted the saga. "Uncover it all. I need to know." As Elena dove in, the waiting was agony. Days stretched like taffy, my mind racing with what-ifs. What if it was all a mistake? What if Dad had good reasons? But deep down I knew. The funds were siphoned off like blood from a vein, straight into Alex's extravagant void. Grandma's legacy, twisted into fuel for parties and poses. The family I idolized. A facade cracking under the weight of favoritism. Little did I know, Elena's discoveries would unearth not just theft, but a web of deceit that spanned years. Shell companies in Dad's name, forged signatures mimicking mine, emails doctored to look like approvals. It was a financial shell game, masterful and merciless. As the report built, my world tilted. Betrayal wasn't just a feeling, it was fact, etched in black and white. The audit would expose everything, weaponizing cold numbers against blood ties, but reclaiming my equity? That would come at the cost of shattering the family forever. Rage fueled me now, a fire that no excuse could extinguish. The dreamer was awake, and ready to fight. What if the people who gave you life were the ones plotting to steal your future? As Elena's audit report landed in my inbox like a grenade, the explosion ripped through every lie my parents had built. I sat in that same cramped garage, the air thick with the scent of stale coffee and desperation, my hands trembling as I scrolled through the PDF. Page after page detailed the deceit. Wire transfers disguised as loans to Alex's offshore account in the Caymans, receipts for luxury yachts chartered in Miami and VIP parties in Vegas, all timestamped the same days my startup begged for scraps. 120,000 gone poof into my brother's hedonistic haze, while I fought tooth and nail to keep Ecotech's servers humming on a shoestring budget. It wasn't just numbers on a screen. It was my blood, sweat, and Grandma's legacy evaporated into champagne toasts and Instagram filters. Elena's work was a masterpiece of cold precision, a forensic scalpel slicing through the family's facade. She traced IP addresses on suspicious emails that originated from Dad's home office computer, cross-referenced bank statements with Alex's social media geotags timestamps, matching lavish brunches in Dubai while my app's beta testers complained about unpaid glitches. One entry hit like a gut punch. A $15,000 transfer labeled investment consulting that coincided with Alex's post of a new Rolex glinting under Bali sunsets. Bloodstained betrayal, Elena had called it in her dry, professional tone during our video call, her face impassive on the screen. But to me, it felt like a knife twist, reopening old wounds I didn't know existed. Memories flooded back unbidden. Dad teaching me to balance checkbooks as a kid. His pencil scratching across ledger paper, now perverted into this elaborate fraud. Mom's hugs after a tough day at school, warm and unconditional, now tainted by her complicity in signing off on the diversions. Her signature, elegant and looping, appeared on half the forged documents. The garage walls seemed to close in, echoing with the ghosts of late-night coding sessions where Sarah and I had laughed about our rags to riches story. Now it was rags to ruins, courtesy of the people who'd raised me. Betrayal wasn't abstract. It was visceral, a burning in my chest that made sleep impossible. That night, I wandered the streets of our sleepy suburb, streetlights casting long shadows like accusing fingers. How had it come to this? Alex, my little brother, the kid I'd taught to ride a bike, shared comic books with under flashlight beams, now a leech on my dreams. And my parents? Enablers, thieves in sheep's clothing. Grandma's voice echoed in my mind. Chase those stars, kiddo. She'd have been heartbroken, her hard-earned savings funding excess instead of innovation. The hooks sank deep that morning in the family living room, where I'd called an emergency meeting under the guise of startup updates. The room hadn't changed much since childhood, the faded floral sofa, the bookshelf crammed with Dad's accounting tomes and Mom's romance novels, the family photos on the mantel smiling back innocently. I arrived early, report printed and bound like a weapon, my heart pounding a war drum. Mom bustled in from the kitchen. Apron dusted with flour from baking her signature muffin, cinnamon ones, my favorite. Coffee, honey? She asked, her smile warm but oblivious. Dad followed, newspaper in hand, settling into his recliner with a grunt. Alex sauntered in last, hair tousled from whatever late night he'd had, lounging on the couch and scrolling his phone like the world owed him entertainment. "Sit down," I said, my voice steady but eyes blazing with the fire of revelation. Mom's smile faltered, a flicker of concern crossing her face as she perched on the edge of the sofa. Dad shifted uncomfortably, folding his paper with deliberate slowness. Alex finally looked up, his smirk fading to mild curiosity. "What's this about, bro?" "Early for drama." I slammed the report on the coffee table, the thud echoing like a judge's gavel. Papers fanned out, charts and timelines glaring accusatorily. "You stole from me. From Grandma's legacy, for this?" I pointed at Alex, my finger shaking with rage. He recoiled, phone slipping from his grasp. "What the hell?" The room erupted into chaos, a storm I'd unleashed. Alex denied it all, his voice rising in indignant yells. "That's bullshit. I earned my way sponsorships deals." But his eyes darted to Dad, seeking backup. Dad blustered legalese, his accountant's mask cracking as he stammered about temporary reallocations and family investments. "It was for the best, son. Alex needed a leg up, your thing could wait." Mom wept quietly at first, then louder, her hands twisting in her lap. "We thought we were helping everyone. Alex was struggling and you're so strong." "Struggling?" While I clawed my way through code and pitches, Alex struggled through hangovers and hookups. I laid it out, page by page, my voice gaining strength from the evidence. "Look here, March 15th, $10,000 wired to Alex's account. Same day you posted that yacht party, bro." Alex paled, scrolling frantically on his recovered phone as if to delete the digital trail. "And Dad, your IP on the email approving it. Mom, your signature on the loan agreement." The air grew thick with accusations and defenses, a cacophony of overlapping voices. "You always favored him," I shouted, years of resentment boiling over. Flashbacks hit like waves, Alex getting the new bike while I rode hand-me-downs, him praised for C's while my A's were expected. But this was criminal, a betrayal that severed the ties of blood. Mom reached for me, tears streaming. "Please, we're family, we can fix this." But I pulled away, the touch burning like acid. Alex lunged forward, face twisted in anger. "You're jealous. Always the martyr, grinding away while I live life." We nearly came to blows, Dad stepping between us with a feeble, "Enough." The confrontation dragged on for hours, cycling through denial, anger, bargaining, textbook grief for a dying illusion. By the end, exhaustion hung heavy, but my resolve was steel. "I'm done, this goes to the authorities." Filing charges was a blur of lawyers' offices and police statements, Elena's report the star witness. Embezzlement, fraud, forgery, the words felt foreign applied to my parents, but the evidence was damning. The courtroom became a battlefield, sterile and unforgiving under fluorescent lights. I sat on one side, Sarah by my side for support, her hand squeezing mine during the tough parts. Across the aisle, my family, Dad in a rumpled suit looking a decade older. Mom dabbing eyes with a tissue. Alex slouched, avoiding my gaze. Witnesses paraded, bank reps confirming suspicious transfers, my co-founder's testimony of our startup's near collapse, Elena dissecting the audit with clinical detachment. The prosecutor painted a vivid picture. This wasn't a mistake. It was a calculated diversion of funds meant for one son's innovation to another's indulgence. Defense argued mitigating circumstances, family dynamics, good intentions, but the judge wasn't swayed. Cross-examinations were brutal. Dad on the stand, sweating under questions about shell companies. I thought it was temporary. Mom breaking down. We love both our boys. Alex, defiant at first, crumbling when shown his post juxtaposed with timelines. I didn't know it was his money. Lies unraveled like cheap yarn. The verdict came on a rainy afternoon, the gavel falling like thunder in the hushed room. Guilty on multiple counts. Sentencing. Restitution of the full amount, Frozen assets, probation for my parents, community service for Alex. No jail time mercy for first offenders, but the damage was done. Headlines splashed across local news. Family feud. Parents divert inheritance to fund son's lavish life. Ecotech rose from the ashes like a phoenix. With the reclaimed equity and buzz from the underdog scandal, new investors flooded in. Sarah and I launched the beta to rave reviews, freelancers flocking to our platform. Success tasted sweet, validation in every download ping. Yet victory was bittersweet, a hollow echo in the ruins of what was. Family dinners became ghosts of the past. Holidays, silent voice filled with awkward texts or nothing at all. I drove by the old house once, seeing the for sale sign assets liquidated to pay me back. Mom called sometimes, voice small and pleading. Can we talk? But the wound was too fresh. Trust a shattered mirror impossible to mend. Alex blocked me on socials, his influencer empire crumbling without the secret funding. Dad retreated into silence, his accounting firm tarnished. In quiet moments, rebuilding Ecotech in a shiny new office, I stare at Grandma's photo on my desk. We did it, I'd whisper, tears pricking. The legacy? In ruins for them, but rebuilt stronger for me, forged in the fire of truth and tenacity. Sometimes, to save your dream, you have to dismantle the ones who built you. Betrayal taught me that family isn't blood, it's the ones who lift you, not leech from you. And in that reckoning, I found not just equity, but emancipation.